Hi, so this is not part of the normal uploads. This is a tutorial video that I'm putting out there, and it's really geared towards people that have got either a Black Series or even just a plastic-based Darth Vader helmet that they're wanting to modify and try and sort of make it look more realistic. The thing that's really bad about the plastic helmets, particularly the dome, is how thin it is. Which I'm going to be showing off again on this version, which is a Black Series, and I'm going through a tutorial on how to thicken it up and make it look much more like the ones in the films. Again, the Black Series is never going to be an exact to what the films are, but you can certainly bring it closer by doing these modifications, and that applies to other ones, again, like EFX and stuff like that. Even the Rubies one, probably the one from Jazwares as well. Again, these are plastic, so plastic injection molding, it's thin, there's no way around it, it's just the way the process of manufacturing, and so you have to modify it to get this sort of result and make the helmet look a lot thicker. So that's what this video is geared towards. I'll be talking through it, I'll be voicing over when I'm not, and so yeah, I hope this helps, and if you're watching it just for the hell of it, I hope you enjoy it. But anyway, let's roll on to that. And there'll also be another video series that'll be to do with the bottom part of the helmet and how to modify that. So I guess like the neck piece, and how to modify that, you know, make the tusks metal, paint it up, all that type of stuff. So yeah, I'll shut up and let the video roll on. Now the helmet, so as you can see, look, there's like a divot there. This thing's pretty banged up, to be fair, so this is going to need a bit of work, and what we're going to do is we're going to thicken this, because as it looks now, thin and just crap, it looks garbage when you put it on, it really does. So we've got to thicken that up to make it look much more like what they do in the movies, and I'm going to show you how to do that next. Right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to start putting these foam pieces in. This is modelling foam. These are 5mm thick. These don't need to be nice cuts, like honestly, just don't worry about them, just get them in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them in and then let them set, and then I'll do the next ones. I've got my glue ready, and so just paint both sides and then go from there. So let's get these painted. And I just keep it nice and thick. And while that's sort of nicely drying up a bit, what I'm going to do is just do the same on the inside of here. Get it on. Allow it to bond. This is just PVA glue, it's not special. And you don't need to worry about how, you don't have to worry about being meticulous here, guys, because to be perfectly honest with you, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant at this point. So just slam that in, and obviously you're going to have a little bit sticking out there, but don't worry about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clamp that in now. So I'm just going to get some clamps, clamp it in place, and just let it set. And I might even let that set for a few hours, to be fair. So yeah, there we go. Just go do that. And I always recommend when you're clamping it, just use another piece just to put on top and on the back as well, just so you're not kind of, it don't really matter, as I say, but you're just not like damaging it any more than what's needed. And it just holds it in place. So I'll just stick one there, and I'll get a bigger one for that, I think. And get one on that side as well. And I can just stick that on. I'll just hold it in place, like so. There we go, that's cool. Right. I don't really need one for the other side, to be fair, but I'm going to look at that top one, can I? There we go, just like that. And that should bond on quite nicely. Obviously all that there that's going to be cut out, and we don't need to cut that out exact just now for now, but yeah, just going to leave that be. So just leave that be. Right, so I've just painted the next bit, and I've had to cut them down a little bit as well to make them a bit smaller so it's easier for them to fit in. Again, just get them in there. So just get that in. Excuse me. I'll just line that up nicely. Oh, that's perfect. And when you're happy with it, just clamp it down. Yeah, so next we're gluing in these these sections. As I say, I've cut them to be so there's less at the top there. I'm describing that right. So pretty straightforward in that respect. You just glue it in. Put some on here as well. Again, just for a bit of extra adhesion. You don't need to be neat with this at all. At all. And there we go. Just put that on there, and then I'll just clamp it down. So we'll just get some pieces to so we're not damaging the thing as it's clamped. Move that up a bit. There we go. So we'll use the bigger one for that. When you clamp it, you sometimes have to realign it. You just have to. So yeah. There we go. That is perfect. And again, if glue seeps through, you don't worry about that at all. Because at this point here, we're just literally bodging it in, so to speak. And I'll cut to the other one. So yeah, just putting the other one in. Just pop that in there, like so. And just clamp it, leave it to do its thing. So yeah, we'll come back to it. I'll recut some more off screen actually. So yeah, again, just get that on there. And you got to leave them for a while, guys. If you're gonna, like I say, if you're gonna do this, you got to leave them for a bit, for allow them to set, because this stuff obviously doesn't set quickly, and that's fine. And again, not using it sparingly, so it doesn't matter. What we need to remove, we can take off later, so we can deal with that. It's no problem. But I just get that put it on there, like so. As you see, look, I'm not using it sparingly at this point now. You don't need to. And again, look, you're going to get a bit of a gap there. You don't worry about that. As I say, it'll all work out at the end. There we go. You can see that's going there, and then I'll just clamp these down and then leave them. Just leave those to set, leave them for a few hours. Let's go back to it. Right, so I've just got these final bits to add in. Well, so these are the final, I see them as the final bits. But yeah, we're just going to add these in, like so. And you'll notice that they overlap significantly. That's absolutely fine because we're cutting all this away anyway. So yeah, you don't worry about that. You see it's overlapped massively. You don't worry about that at all. Because as I say, it's gonna be all cut out at the end, and it's better to have more than less, so to speak. So yeah, so I'm just gonna pop them in, and then I will clamp them up off screen, and we'll come back to it when all that is set for the final bit, which is around here. So yeah, I will be back soon. So here I'm doing the cutting before I put the sort of final piece in at the top. So I'm just cutting around the edges and the bottom. Obviously I'm going to speed this up as well. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, just make sure you've got a nice sharp, we call them a Stanley knife, just because that's the brand name. But yeah, just use a real sharp worker's knife really, where you can change the blades and you can keep them sharp, and that way you can just cut flush to the helmet, and it will the helmet will sort of guide the knife into where it needs to go to cut against the foam. What I will say is pull the knife sort of towards you and against the foam, because the glue can sometimes not hold it, and as a consequence of that, you can actually sort of pull it away while you're cutting it. So you're best to sort of like sort of pull the knife towards you as you're doing the cut. But yeah, anyway, there you go. So here I'm putting the the final piece in that's like the brow of the helmet. This is probably the most challenging part. I cut it to shape before I put it in, and then I put it in as one piece. What you'll also notice is that I've cut on the inside, right where the sort of the dome flares out. So I've already cut those pieces out. You can sort of see that on the last pieces on the last video, part of the video, sorry. Yeah, again, I just let the knife guide to the dome of the helmet to do that. But again, I'm just clamping this piece in, letting it set, and then obviously once it has set, I'll come back and cut it. But you're looking at leaving it to set for a day or so. So you've got to be patient, guys. If you're going to do this, be patient, take your time. But it's so worth doing, in my opinion, as you'll see from the results when it's finished. And here is the sort of final cut for the brow of the helmet, sorry. And this is again probably the most challenging part. It's where the shape of it changes, and so the shape of the foam will change as well, which you'll sort of see as I'm doing it, and as I'll show it towards the end. But yeah, this takes a little bit longer, so just be a bit more careful with this part. And then, well, I'll slow down the video in a second just to sort of show what it's starting to look like. And here I'm I'm starting to cut the again the inside foam, so I'm cutting it to again the shape of the dome. So you only want the bit that flares to have the foam, obviously not the inside, otherwise the helmet won't fit. Again, it's all asked for the look. When you see it completed, you'll think the whole thing looks a lot thicker than it actually is. So yeah, I'm just using the dome of the helmet as like a guide for the knife, and cutting against the foam at an angle, just to sort of trim it away. Now the foam is all fully sort of in place, what I'm doing is I'm just coating it with some more glue. The glue seeps into the foam just to sort of strengthen it, but it also creates a layer that you can paint on as well, so it comes in handy later. So yeah, just coat it on as I'm doing here. And so here I am sanding the top of the helmet. This is to get rid of the part where the injection moulding is apparent. So this is where the plastic is injected into the mould. Now you're going to be left with a small divot. I've mentioned this before, but I like to get rid of it. Again, people aren't really going to see this, but I don't like it, and I think if you're going to do the job, do it properly. So I'm sanding it away where the plastic seeps out ever so slightly, and then I'm going to fill the divot. I just fill it with a bit of acrylic paint, to be fair, and then just sand that down as well, and then it's nice and smooth. And well, when it comes to painting, it'll just look perfect. So I'm just taking some of this off now because I did this off camera, but I've started to base coat this now, so with primer, and you can see, look, it looks rough, that's fine, and again here as well where it's looking rough, and it is, and there as well, but it's everywhere, right? You don't worry about that. Again, you're building up like a bit of a base layer now, and you're going to use that to sand, and again, look, I've got runoff here, not a problem, we're going to sand all that down. So yeah, it's totally fine to have that going like that, but let it set nicely for a decent amount of time, like at least I'd say 12 hours before applying any more. So I'm going to do this sort of bit by bit so you can see it rather than all one go. So it's, yeah, you'll see what I mean by that. All right. We've got an incredibly rainy day, so I can't spray today, but it's good because it allows this thing to set. But see that little divot there? You get that on all plastic helmets. I've already talked about this. Sorry, you can hear this is my washing machine in the background, but yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bob this fillet with a bit of acrylic paint. It doesn't need much, just a little dab like that, right? And that will set hard, and then I can just sand it down flat. And I know you don't need to do it, but I know it's there, so I don't like it being there. So this is how to get rid of it. So it's starting to take shape now. We're starting to get some base layers in terms of spraying, and we're going to get some decent base layers on before we start going with the black paint.